Miles looked at his bank account and felt something he had felt many times before: confusion. Every month he promised himself that things would change. He would spend less, save more, be smarter with money, and for a while he actually improved. He tracked his expenses. He removed unnecessary subscriptions. He stopped buying things just because they were convenient. He became more careful, but after months of trying, Miles noticed something. Even when he controlled every dollar, there was still a limit. A person can only cut so many expenses. A person can only save so much from the income they already have. And that thought stayed in his mind. What if my biggest financial problem isn't where my money goes? What if my biggest financial problem is how much value I can create? That question changed the way Miles looked at money, because most people are taught one side of personal finance: protect your money, save your money, avoid wasting your money, and those things matter. But there is another side that many people ignore: your ability to earn, your ability to solve problems, your ability to create something valuable. Because money is not only built by managing what you already have, it is also built by becoming someone who can create more. Miles started thinking differently. How can I spend less? How can I become more valuable? So he created an experiment. For the next 90 days, he would focus on building one skill, not trying 10 different things, not chasing quick money, not searching for overnight success. One skill, 90 days. Starting from almost zero, Miles knew this would not be easy. He had no experience, no audience, no professional background, no one waiting to hire him. But he had something important: time, and he was willing to use it. The hardest decision was choosing the skill. The internet was full of possibilities. Some people said coding was the future. Others said sales was the most important skill. Some people talked about design. Some talked about communication. Every skill sounded powerful, but Miles realized something. A good skill is only valuable if you actually develop it. The best opportunity means nothing if you never begin. So he chose video editing. Why? Because he noticed the world was changing. Every business needed attention. Every creator needed content. Every brand needed a story. And behind every successful video was someone who knew how to capture attention. If people are fighting for attention, then the people who know how to create attention will always have value. So he started. Day 1, Miles opened his computer. He downloaded the software. He watched tutorials. He studied how professionals created videos. At first, everything felt overwhelming. There were hundreds of tools, thousands of techniques. Things that looked simple from the outside were actually complicated. A smooth transition, a good opening, the right music, the perfect timing. Miles realized something quickly. Watching someone do something and actually doing it yourself are completely different. His first project was terrible. The pacing was slow. The cuts felt strange. The story didn't flow. He looked at it and thought, when he finished, who would ever pay for this? That thought almost stopped him, but then he remembered something. Everyone starts somewhere. Every expert was once a beginner. Every professional once created something they were not proud of. The difference was not that successful people avoided bad results. The difference was that they continued after bad results. So Miles continued. Day after day, he practiced, he failed, he improved, he repeated. The first few weeks were uncomfortable. Progress felt invisible. Some days, he spent hours learning and still felt like he had learned nothing. But something was happening beneath the surface. His brain was adapting. His eyes were improving. His decisions were becoming faster. The things that confused him before slowly started making sense. And that is how real skills are built. Not in one big moment, but through hundreds of small improvements nobody sees. After 30 days, Miles opened his first project again. The same project he created at the beginning. He watched it, and he smiled. It was not because it was amazing. It was because he could finally see the difference. The mistakes were obvious. The weak parts were clear. But that was the proof. 30 days earlier, he didn't even know what those mistakes were. Now he did. And that meant he was growing. Miles learned something important. Confidence does not come from knowing everything. Confidence comes from proving to yourself that you can learn. That realization changed the entire challenge. Am I good enough yet? Am I better than yesterday? That small change kept him moving. Because building a skill is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming more capable. And capability is one of the most valuable financial assets a person can own. As the second month began, Miles noticed something different. The process that once felt impossible started becoming familiar. He was no longer opening his editing software and feeling completely lost. He knew where to start. He understood the basics. He could look at a video and recognize what made it interesting. The biggest change was not his editing ability. The biggest change was the way he thought. Before, Miles watched videos like everyone else. He watched for entertainment. Now, he watched with a different perspective. He noticed the opening seconds. He studied the storytelling. He analyzed why people kept watching. He started seeing patterns. A strong beginning creates curiosity. A good story creates emotion. A clear message creates connection. Miles realized that every valuable skill was really about understanding people. Whether it was editing, sales, design, or communication, the foundation was the same. Create value. Solve problems. Help someone achieve a better result. That was the moment the challenge became bigger than learning video editing. Miles wasn't just learning a technical skill. He was learning how the world creates value. But the journey was still difficult. Because learning a skill is one thing. Believing that someone will pay you for it is another. For weeks, Miles practiced without anyone seeing his work. Nobody was giving him opportunities. Nobody was telling him he was improving. And that was the hardest part. Most people don't quit because learning is impossible. They quit because progress feels invisible. They put in effort today, but the reward comes much later. Miles had to accept something important. The early stages of success are often quiet. The seed grows underground before anyone sees the tree. So he kept going. Every day he improved one small thing: a better transition, a stronger opening, cleaner audio, better storytelling. Small improvements added together. By day 60, Miles decided it was time to test his skill in the real world. He created a small portfolio. Nothing perfect, nothing impressive, just proof of what he could do. Then he started reaching out. At first, it was uncomfortable. He sent messages. He introduced himself. He offered to help, and most people ignored him. Some never replied. Some said no. Some didn't even open his message. That rejection hurt, because every rejection felt personal. You're not good enough. But Miles eventually understood something. A rejection is not always a judgment of your potential. Sometimes it is simply part of the process. Every person who builds something valuable experiences moments where nobody believes in them yet. The difference is whether they stop before the opportunity arrives. So Miles continued. More messages, more practice, more improvement. Then one day, something changed. Someone replied. They had seen Miles' work and wanted help creating videos. It wasn't a huge project. It wasn't a life-changing amount of money. But to Miles, it meant something bigger. Someone was willing to pay for a skill he created from nothing. 90 days ago, Miles had no editing ability, no portfolio, no proof. Now he had something valuable, not because he became an expert overnight, but because he invested in becoming better, and that was the real transformation. The money was important, but the skill was worth more. Because money can disappear. A skill can create new opportunities. A skill can open doors you didn't even know existed. On day 90, Miles sat down and looked back at where he started. He remembered the first day, the confusion, the mistakes, the frustration, the moments when he wanted to quit. But he also remembered something else. Every time he continued, he became a different person. At the beginning of the challenge, Miles was waiting for his financial situation to change. At the end of the challenge, Miles understood something. He was the change. Because the biggest financial upgrade was not the amount of money in his account. It was the person he had become. Someone who could learn. Someone who could adapt. Someone who could create value. Someone who no longer depended only on what he already knew. Miles learned that personal finance is not only about saving dollars. It is also about expanding your ability to create them. Your income is connected to the problems you can solve. The more valuable problems you can solve, the more opportunities you can create. That doesn't mean everyone needs to become rich overnight. It doesn't mean every skill becomes a business. It doesn't mean success is guaranteed. But it does mean one thing. You are not limited to the person you are today. You can build, you can learn, you can improve. The future version of yourself can have abilities that the current version has never imagined. And sometimes, the best investment you can make is not buying something. It is building something inside yourself. Because when Miles started this journey, he thought he was learning video editing. But by the end, he realized he was building something much bigger. He was building confidence, discipline, problem-solving ability, and belief. The belief that he could create opportunities instead of only waiting for them. The world rewards people who can provide value. And value is not something you are simply born with. It is something you can develop. One skill, one day, one improvement at a time. Miles started with $0, but after 90 days, he had something far more important than money. He had proof that he could change his own future.